At you fast, you look up and your youth has passed. The trade-off is you gained a little wisdom. We were raised.
And I'll just set this over here. I'll just come over here.
Come on
Sit.
over.
Angela,
Yeah.
you sit in the middle.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Perfect.
You get the middle.
Yeah, and that way you're closest to the microphone. Okay, so this is the Girls Gone Menopause podcast, and I'm Adreana, and
I'm Alison.
And we are so excited because we have a female entrepreneur who is also a Girls Gone Menopause woman, and we're going to be interviewing her. Her name is Angela Gomez. And Angela, please introduce yourself and your business.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for being here today. I'm Angela Gomez. I'm the owner of HWD Wellness Co. and HWD Fitness Long Beach, which is the boxing gym that we're located in here today.
And for our locals, that is the 24-hour fitness at Bellflower and Stern here in Long Beach, California. So, Angela, I met you a couple weeks ago when I started coming to this 24-hour fitness, and I was just so intrigued because you have a very interesting backstory. You were not somebody who was into sports or a high school boxer or anything like that. You came from a corporate background. So can you tell our audience a little bit about what you were doing before you became an entrepreneur?
Yes. It's definitely not a place that I imagined I would be in at this point in my life. But I've always been into sports. I played sports in high school. So I've always been into fitness and athletics. I have 2 boys. They're both 4-year varsity athletes. So, sports has been a part of my life. And as the kids have, gotten bigger and gotten more advanced experience, I always felt like as a mom, like it was my kind of job to elevate my game, to always be leading by example and making sure that they're pushing and challenging themselves. So, that's just a little bit about how, that's kind of where it started. And then obviously, I had experienced an HWD fitness boxing class. Okay. So the founder of the company, Lewis and Bernadette, are consultants. And so I had been going to their gym. And then I had joined one of their fitness competitions back in 2019 and did their lifestyle training program. So that's how I was exposed to the fitness boxing world. And then when they decided they wanted to launch other locations, it just happened to work out perfect timing with my corporate job. In global mobility and global relocation, sort of taking a different twist and turn, and then this opportunity came up, and so I thought it's either now or never. I mean, it's never a good time to start your own business.
So how long were you in the corporate world, and what exactly were you doing? I want people to understand what a jump you made so that the other women will know it's possible. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've always, since I was 17 years old, I've always worked in like the hospitality industry. So I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and I worked in luxury golf resorts in Tucson, Arizona, in all different divisions and departments. And then I transferred with one of my companies to Hawaii, and I worked on the island of Kauai in a luxury resort there, which was amazing. And then that eventually relocated to Long Beach. That's where I had met my ex-husband. He had come to the islands for a wedding, and we met. And then I ended up in Long Beach, working for the same hotel industry. And then that is where I discovered the world of corporate relocation and corporate mobility. So I was not familiar with corporate relocation. It wasn't a big thing in the areas I was living in. And so I got into global mobility and global relocation, working with big companies to house, corporate clients coming in from different companies, the entertainment industry, reality TV shows, just
have fun.
A whole nother world. So I would travel around. In my last role, I was a vice president of sales, and I would travel around to big companies on the West Coast and work with their HR teams to help them develop their global mobility policies.
Got it.
So then our company would execute on those policies. So we'd help their employees move and relocate from Hong Kong to Australia or to the United States and help them, with all their household goods shipments, auto relocation, pet relocations, finding schools, like basically anything you could possibly think of for a corporate relocation.
I didn't even know that was a job, so that's
Yes.
just amazing.
Yes, it is
we-
a really cool job.
We
Yeah.
did a previous episode with teen girls, so now I'm just going to be telling all the teen girls I know, this is a thing you could do if
That's
you
true.
enjoy
Absolutely.
living in different places. So it's when you talk about it, your face lights up, and it sounds like you enjoyed it. What even made you decide, I want to exit this and go into something else, whether it would have been your own business or whatever?
Well, for as long as I can remember, I always dreamt of having my own business.
Okay.
It was just in me. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was going to do, but it was always there that I knew one day I wanted to have my own business. And, when I think back, like, it's not like that came from anybody in my family. Like, I come from a family of nurses and, regular, type of people with normal jobs, stable jobs,
Right.
And so I don't know where that came from, but it was just always something I dreamt of doing. So I was always
You have the
looking for
personality. You have
opportunities.
the personality and the gumption. It looks like to go off and do your own thing and make your own decisions within your business.
That's what I wanted, but I was always very scared to do
Yeah.
that on my
Right.
own. It was
Right.
a very scary thing to think about. Like, I don't even know where to start,
It's
so
amazing you did it.
So I started just seeking out opportunities to talk to people. Like, I would get on calls for like franchises, and I would learn a lot just in having those kind of one-on-one calls.
Mhm.
And then when I was kind of ironic, I had met with another a big gym franchise here locally, and I had gone through their whole presentation, and I learned a ton. And then it was shortly thereafter the opportunity for HWD came up. So I was like, and so I worked with a consultant, which made me feel a lot better.
The owners were the actual
founders of the company.
of the company were your actual consultants.
So then I hired them as my consultants and just did a franchise, just did a licensing agreement basically
Okay.
to take their concept and then just implement it here in my
Okay.
own location. So I'm the sole owner, but at least I had
Right.
the help, the hand
So you
holding.
had the backing and the support.
Yes.
So let me see if I'm hearing you correctly. You actually were a patron of their business.
Yes.
They had a boxing
I
gym,
was a
and
client.
you were a client. So you got to know them from a client
Yes.
and a service provider relationship. But it sounds like you kind of connected with them.
Yeah, and I loved what they were doing with the kids programs and just obviously helping, people with their fitness journeys and their health journeys. Very nice, family. And so I felt very comfortable with the concept. I loved, like I said, I loved the classes. They were so fun and they were a great workout. So all of it was great. So when they had talked about trying to expand their brand, and the opportunity came up, I had just been laid off because global relocation obviously settled down quite a bit
Right.
in the past few years because companies are letting people work remote and obviously hybrid, and so things slowed down. So then I was laid off for the first time, in my life, and so it was kind of like, well, I've been seeking that. Like, it's sort of like, okay,
Right.
This is
I
the
believe in
time.
God, and God's like, all right, well,
Yeah,
when are
yeah.
you ever going to leave a very
Right.
good paying, high-paying corporate job to go on your own? Probably
Right.
not.
You had to
Right.
kind of-
So
it
God
was-
had to push you.
It was either I'm going this direction or I'm going back
Right.
to what I know, and then when will I ever do my own thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what will it be?
Right.
So
So let me ask you this. What do you think that you would have gone this direction if you hadn't had these mentors that you were comfortable with? Now, you ended up paying them as consultants, but before
Yes,
that,
correct.
you had to trust them as people. You mentioned
Yes.
that you liked them as a family. Like, as a woman going off into her own to do her own thing, do you think that mentorship was important in your transition or no?
for me, absolutely,
Okay.
because the fear can keep you from doing it.
Mhm.
I mean, just the
Right.
fear and anxiety alone,
Mhm.
especially as a single woman and a
Mhm.
single mother.
Mhm.
My boy's dad is still very actively a part of their life, but I'm a single woman,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So
Yeah.
I don't think I would have had the courage to try it on my own because I wouldn't have been able to withstand all of the failures along the way.
Right.
I know that I just
Right.
know myself well
Mhm.
enough to know that it's already been a struggle. Like, it's already a struggle, and I expected that in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. So I just knew that I needed to have some type of an advantage.
Mhm.
And so, and then I knew opening a boxing gym, I'd always heard all the stories, and I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of fitness gyms fail because a lot of amazing coaches can't make the transition to business ownership. And that is a big,
you may know what
difference.
you do, but that doesn't mean you know how to run a business doing what you do.
No, and
Got
that's
it.
what's heartbreaking is that they're so passionate about what they do and they love it so much and they're so good at it. But that transition is huge.
Mhm.
And coming from corporate my whole entire life, that part did not scare me.
Mhm.
I've run operations. I've managed teams of 30 people. I ran the largest operation for a global mobility company in all of LA,
Mhm.
you know, the biggest one in the country. I've worked in sales, I've worked in inside sales, you know, everything. So I wasn't scared about that.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just didn't know the first thing about, you know, how to get everything up and running.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, so that's where I knew I needed that expertise.
Mhm.
And then obviously layering my expertise on top of that has made, you know, it much more successful, where as, you know, some other owners may be struggling more because they don't have that.
Right. They
You
may
know?
know sports, they may know boxing, they may know
Yes.
coaching, but they don't know business.
And I can hire great coaches.
True.
You know, I can hire great
True.
coaches, right?
True.
I am not
Yes.
a pro fighter. You can take fitness boxing classes, but you know, when you find somebody who really understands technique and who's immersed in it, like it's a different experience.
Mhm. It
you know?
elevates.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. So tell me, how did you get the financing to open the gym in the first place? Did you get it from family? Did you get it from corporate connections? Like, and were there challenges to getting financing that you found as a woman in particular? Because sports is a very male-oriented
Yes.
boxing.
Yes.
So tell us about how you even actually got the financing to start your own business.
Yeah, it's such a great question because that's the hardest part a lot of times,
Mhm.
you know. So I had, as I was exploring other opportunities in sort of the franchise space with other companies, I had learned about what's called a ROBS. It's a rollover for business. So it's basically for people who have worked in corporate who have 401k, where you can use that money to self-fund your own business without taxes or penalty.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
I had learned about that, and not a lot of people know about that. Again,
Right.
very
Gonna
much,
love this.
Yeah, this is good info. Keep going.
Yeah, and a lot of people freak out when you say 401k. Oh my gosh, you can't touch it, but there's no tax. If you set up your business as a C corporation, then
Mhm.
there's no, you don't pay taxes or penalties for utilizing that money to fund your business. You roll it over into your own business 401k that you can pull and self-fund from. So that is what I did.
And that's called Rob.
ROBS,
Mhm.
roll over
ROBS.
for business.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it's a very niche, very, you know, not a lot of people know about it.
Mhm.
There's a book, the founder of the company that I use, there's a book he wrote called Make It Rain.
Mhm.
And it's a really great book. And it's basically for people who want to spend the second half of their life doing something that they want to do,
Mhm.
right? We get sucked into like, we have to provide for our families, we have to make a living. Like we just sort of get into what we need to do, and then people moving into the second half of their life, you know, it's like, I want to live a life of purpose. I want to
Yes.
be able to give back. I want to do something different. So it's a great way for people to kind of make the second half of their
Mhm.
career and life a little more meaningful and purposeful.
Mhm. So that leads me to a question that wasn't on our list, but I think you'll appreciate. You are very passionate about the kids' programs here at your boxing gym.
Yes.
And you mentioned that when in the second half of your life, you want to have purpose, you want to give back. So tell us a little bit about the kids programs, specifically just how you feel that they may be keeping kids off the street or keeping them engaged in something positive. I mean, I know that that's important to you because I can
Yes.
tell by the way you talk. So tell us a little bit about that purpose-driven part.
Yeah, I think in general, like I'm very much driven to help specifically women, you know, obviously in their journey, like, and I have a lot of men that come in that maybe are going through separations, divorces, they're single dads. So, you know, obviously with my adult people that also, you know, I ended up getting I'm working on my master's in executive coaching and consulting because that's another area that, you know, obviously I'm passionate about. As far as like physical fitness training, I love it for myself, but I'm not necessarily passionate about being that trainer.
Mhm,
But I am
mhm.
passionate about the mindset, right? The emotional piece of
Yes.
it, the addictive piece of the food industry, the psychological piece
Tell
of
it.
it.
Tell it.
So
That might be a
it's-
whole nother.
Yeah, we'll bring you
Yeah.
back for that.
So-
Tell it.
That's a whole nother area that I've done a lot of studying in clinical studies, and just obviously like I've worked with people in recovery, just in every type of recovery, including food addiction, all kinds of addictions. But so I know that there's just so much more to it than just the workout itself. That's why I'm like, I can hire trainers. The other stuff is stuff that you've got to be able to get into people's heads and really try to figure out what are their blocks and obstacles. So I think, I just wanted to kind of separate the adults as something I'm also very passionate about. And then that rolls into their kids, because they cannot lead their kids if they can't lead themselves. So that is like a huge thing for me, is that there's so many kids and people who've grown up with different struggles in their lives. They weren't exposed to, healthy foods, like their families didn't know. We have so much more information now than we did then. And also a lot of families, in the world of people of color, food is love. Food is comfort. The Hispanic culture.
When you go to Abuela's house, she's going to have a plate for you.
And if you don't eat, it can be offensive. Right. And especially if it's your mom and you're their child and you're like on a diet, and then you're like, sorry, mom. And then it's like, it's just
I made this for you. Yeah.
It is like one of the biggest obstacles that people have, in setting those boundaries, so because it's emotional. It's emotional, and it's,
especially if mom and abuela came from a background where they did not have enough food.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. And my partner is Hispanic, and he was raised in poverty, and so there's so much to it. So I think, that's one area I think is really important. And then for the kids that come in here, we are a very inclusive community. So we have kids of all shapes and sizes. We have kids that struggle with, that have ADHD. So that might be, an outlet for them to be able to kind of run around and get it out. We have autistic kids, some higher performing than others, but again, we welcome them into the community, and we understand, where they're at. And so we try to just meet people where they're at. And we do have a lot of kids that are struggling with obesity, childhood obesity. And parents, are so beside themselves because they know it's not a good thing. Their doctors have told them, but they don't know what to do. And they're so powerless and they feel helpless. And that part is where it's like, oh my gosh, I just love to see those kids here, taking care of themselves, learning how to work out.
If I knew about you years ago, I had 2 out of 3 ADHD kids.
Yeah.
So I would have had them in here, no problem.
Yeah. And that's what I really want to make sure they feel comfortable and safe here and at home here, because it's important, because ADHD can be a superpower if channeled correctly.
Bingo.
It is a superpower if it's channeled correctly. And then, kids that have autism are amazing, brilliant minds that are so incredible. I mean, that's just a whole nother level,
so great for our community.
Yeah, it really is.
This podcast is going to get a lot of that information out.
It really is.
A lot of those parents,
Yeah.
because I work with the parents of the struggling kids.
Yes.
So having places to know is 98% of the solution.
Yes. And the regional centers will reimburse. Obviously the regional centers here will reimburse the families.
Okay,
So
that is good
it's
to know.
sort of like they pay up front, but then they get reimbursed for it.
Okay,
So
let's just do an aside just about that part. I bet there's a lot of people that didn't know that. How did you even learn that source of funding was available? And speak a little bit more on that part.
Yeah, actually through my members. So I'm in a lot of the Facebook, I run Facebook and Instagram ads. That's how I get my leads. And then I'm in a lot of the local Facebook groups for homeschooling in various areas. So I'll see postings, people looking for different things. But I've had, it's just people calling me and asking, do we work with kids that are autistic or ADHD, and will we accept the funding? Of course, they pay and they get reimbursed. So that's how I learned about it. So that's why it's sort of a no-brainer.
Right. It's totally a no-brainer.
In boxing, one of the other things I did when I was in my menopause journey, feeling like I was going crazy, and realizing later why, was I went and had my brain scanned at Amen Clinics. I don't know if you've ever
Very familiar with them. Amazing.
Absolutely incredible. And so I went because I wasn't sure if one of my sons had ADHD. And so obviously I thought, well, let me go get tested first. And because I was experiencing a lot of symptoms of ADHD. And what I learned for myself at Amen Clinics is obviously they do all of the intakes, the testing, and then they scan your brain. Was that obviously, I had some CPTSD and some depression, anxiety, and all of that. Just from past stuff that had festered up during menopause that I hadn't dealt with yet. But I did not have ADHD. So it was able to confirm that yes, I would benefit from like maybe a small
Same.
dose of, Ritalin or a stimulant or something like that, just because anxiety symptoms look a lot like ADHD
Tell it.
symptoms.
Tell it.
So I was experiencing more of that depression, anxiety flare-ups at that time, but it helped me to rule that piece out specifically for me. So it just, again, more of just knowledge is power. When you understand what you're working with, you can be a lot more, proactive.
Yeah, that is very, very true. So you just said that, during your menopause journey, you went through some things and then you had to educate yourself as to why. So you are a God believer. So tell us what role your faith played in helping get you to this point and just get you through that transition, and the way that the God or goddess worked with you during that struggle time. I want to hear about that.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah. I guess I would consider it, they call it hitting rock bottom, or this day and age, we call it a midlife awakening versus a midlife crisis. It was a midlife awakening. I was going through struggles in my marriage. I was trying to decide if we were going to be able to work it out or if we needed to proceed with a divorce. And obviously that was just heartbreaking because I have 2 children and I was so
How old were your sons at that time?
At that time, they were probably like 10 and 12.
Oh, wow. Okay,
And
so go on.
it's kind of that, and I have a lot of a family history in my family of alcoholism, drug addiction. I had a brother who passed away from a heroin overdose. The kids, thank you. And the kids, grandfather on their dad's side passed away from a heroin overdose before they were born. So there's a lot of this in our family. And so I was just terrified that going through a divorce would trigger trauma in my kids and like literally cause them to
be on a
basically.
trajectory.
I just I was just like, it was so crucial to me that I got the right help. And unfortunately, in my circle, I didn't trust the people in my circle to guide me in the right way because I needed experts. I knew I needed experts.
Right.
So I actually ended up working with a therapist for the first time in my life. This was when I was 45, and she ended up referring me to a grief and trauma recovery center. It's called Lido Wellness Center. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And so I took a leave of absence from my corporate job because it was that important and serious that I did. That I made sure I was making good choices that wouldn't continue to negatively impact my children. You know? And so through that process is where I was able to like deal with everything and like go through. So that is where like God was like, oh my gosh, I was walking through the fire, and that is where I actually then reconnected with my faith. I ended up getting baptized. I ended up listening to God and like knowing that I needed to let some relationships go, set really good boundaries with people that I love dearly. And also establish new friendships and new relationships that would pour into me differently. Yes. So I had a full.
Wow.
It was a lot of scary moments.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was terrifying and it was scary and it was heart-wrenching and it was so difficult. But I'm so grateful that I did it. And because of that, a lot of my family, like I've had people,
Your testimony has ended up.
And I just listened to God. I remember saying to God, why did you give me boys? Like the men in my family
said the same thing.
are alcoholics. Like I don't know how to raise boys. Like the boys, this is not my area of expertise. And God was like, oh yeah, it is. Like it is now. And if you follow me and you are with me, you're going to be able to figure it out. And it's going to be like the best possible thing. But I had to like trust that. That was my only way I could trust,
the faith part.
That's the faith part.
That is trusting that, okay, so God, like I don't understand it, but if you believe in me to help try to break cycles in the family system, then
get rid of generational curses.
And it's like I didn't want to fight that hard. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to stop drinking myself, and I didn't want to have to change my life, and I didn't want to have to do like any of those hard things. I didn't want to have to go no contact with my fammy for a month.
Oh, it's so hard.
I didn't want to have to like do all these very hard things, but I knew that I didn't have a choice.
Right. Oh, that is a beautiful testimony. So the other thing I want to ask, you have these 2 boys. You have very well articulated your reasons for wanting to build this and have your own business and what you wanted to give back. What role, if any, does the establishment of generational wealth and building a business that your boys could walk into, so if they should so choose,
Yeah.
What role did that play in it?
Yes, absolutely. A driving factor in me doing this was, again, continuing to lead my kids by example. So I know that our world is changing. I know that technology is changing everything. I have a college degree, I'm working on my master's, so I believe in education. I think it's very, if you don't know what you're doing, like for me personally, I'm a believer in it, but I also know it's not the only path for everybody. And so I wanted to show my kids. That's why I got my master's. One of the reasons was so that I want to be able to work with corporations and people in corporations. So having that, master's degree kind of checks that box in terms of like liability and things like that and credibility. But I also wanted to show my kids, like, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter. You can go back, you can get a master's degree. You can open a business. And I wanted to be able to show them how to do it and pave the way for them. And so my oldest plays, he's playing basketball right now in college, and he's taking a full load, and he's also in the fire academy. So that's the direction he wants to go right now. And
AI ain't never going to take that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And he's really into brotherhood. Like, he's been playing varsity basketball since he was right out of 8th grade. Both of my boys did. So they're used to that brotherhood and that community, and they love that. And my youngest is very entrepreneurial minded. He has been trading stocks and Bitcoin, and he manages his own finances. I gave him his money that, from when he was a baby I help oversee, and I have to approve. He's only 17 now. But I approve his transactions, and he's already started a few different businesses. So he helped me. Originally launch everything. He knows how to run the leads. He knows how to work the front desk. People don't see him anymore, because I really did need like a Spanish speaker, bilingual speaker, here at the front desk and leads and everything. So he definitely was part of that front end process, and both of my kids have worked on the business and in it, but they very much have their own lives and they have their own experiences that they want to go through right now. But at least I have paved the way, and when the day comes that they do want to do their own thing, like I'm right here. I look at myself as a mentor, for my kids. So that's a lot of what drives me, is making sure that I can always be a guide for them in whatever direction they want to go. And they guide me, because they're so smart now. Like, they guide me in a lot of ways too. Like this morning I woke up and my youngest was already, I looked at his location. He was already at the beach doing his 3-mile run, So I was just like, okay, like, that's why I'm a huge believer with parents and kids. I'm like, my kids are so disciplined. If anything, I would have to put restrictions on them with how much the gym, how much time they were working out, all of that, because it would take away from their
homework time or whatever.
And stuff. But like, their macros are dialed in. They know how to manage manage their nutrition. They know how to they know everything. It's crazy, like how well established they are, and that's going to be something that they can take with them for the rest of their life,
and to pass on to your grandkids, which is the most important thing. That is amazing.
So, been great to see that.
That's so great, because that takes a lot, being a single mom myself and having to rise above from the depths. Sometimes.
It's very hard.
And and realizing that you're the only one.
That you have to be able to change the trajectory, and like the only way to do it is it's genetics and environment. That's it. So we can't change genetics. So we have to, and we must change the environment. Period. There's no other way. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So I knew that there was no way I could continue doing the things that I had been passed down. Because I already know where it's going to go. So it's like, I knew that the environment had to be completely shifted. So that was, and again, this is all in my relationship with God. Knowing that God was there, like telling me, speaking into me, kind of leading me through the whole process. So.
All right. So now I want to get a little bit into the personal. This is off script too. So if you don't want to answer, that's fine. So you got divorced from Mr. Gomez, and you are now in a long distance relationship. So the question I want to ask is, you have your own business, you're in menopause, you've made changes, you've made transitions. Is a long distance relationship actually easier because it allows you more freedom because the person isn't up under you the way it was when you were married? Or is it more difficult because it's long distance? Like as a young person, you want to be with your boyfriend all the time, but maybe as a menopausal woman, you're like, you know what? It's nice that you're over there. I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's actually, there's a name for them now. They're called LAT relationships, living apart together.
Oh.
LAT. So
just recently I've heard that.
So this is a big, new phenomenon because women now in this day and age can support themselves. It used to be, it wasn't until I think 1974 that women could even get credit cards, or it's been in my lifetime that women could even get business loans or anything. So women didn't have a choice, but we have a choice now, oftentimes.
Right.
So I know even with college age kids who are in relationships, maybe they get careers, and one career is going to take one here and the other career, but they're willing to do that because they can both live out their career and then eventually come together. And of course, in post-divorce blended families, it used to be people would just blend those families and things get nuts,
figure it out.
And so, this is a way to do it in a more thoughtful way.
More intentional.
I actually have a certification in blended family therapy.
Oh, wow.
So I made sure that I went, because again, I know I'll eventually be in a blended family, and I didn't want to be irresponsible in the way that I approached that. So it's like, okay, I went and got certified, a 2-day course in blended family, coaching. So I can help, coach people through that. And mainly it was so that I had some kind of knowledge about, best practices perhaps. So I think because of all of that, is it hard? Yes. We knew each other prior. Oh, okay. So that was a big differentiator versus meeting somebody new long distance. That would be a lot harder. So we did know each other prior. So that helped. And it definitely has its challenges. Obviously we have to coordinate a lot more. His child is younger, mine are older. So, he's at a different phase in his life than I am. So it just takes a lot more communication. It takes a lot more planning and intention. And the biggest thing I've noticed is expressing your desires and what you need to have your needs met. And we don't always have the same needs. I may need something that he doesn't need. So I can't expect him to have that same need as me. I have to express it. And then he has to be willing to deliver. And vice versa. So being able to communicate in a very emotionally
intelligent
way has been a game changer. So it's had its challenges, of course, but we've grown and worked through so many of them because we have to. We're not able to just wing it and see each other. Hey, let's meet up. We have to be very intentional.
Right. And so, do you feel like your, I'm going to call it menopause maturity, contributed to you being able to have this fulfilling relationship with this intentionality and all the things you mentioned? Would you have been able to do it before menopause?
No, I definitely since all of this has occurred, oh my gosh, I've changed so much just in terms of I'm still who I am, but I'm not the same person I was by any means. You know, the people who knew me in the past, it's a different version of me for sure.
Emotional intelligence is key.
Yeah. And having boundaries and being able to communicate. I love my parents, but even with my parents, I had to set very firm boundaries with them on what I would tolerate and what I wouldn't tolerate when it comes to time around my children.
Right.
And that's hard, taking that reverse approach and being loving about it and still being
parents being accepting.
Yes.
Right?
And they have been very accepting and respectful, but it definitely hurt feelings along, people get their feelings hurt along the way, and that's expected. Of course, it's okay.
We can do hard things.
And we have to do hard things. Not only can we must do hard things. We must do hard things.
I bought a plaque that says you can do hard things for my daughter.
Yes.
For her to put that on her door.
And then us wanting that from our kids too, right? I want my kids to be able to communicate with me when they're not feeling something or when they are feeling something. And I actually use one of those emotions wheels. That was actually one of the biggest things that helped me and my
Tell us about
my recovery process. They're the feelings wheels. You can just Google feelings wheel. And I highly recommend this for everybody. And for children. So when my kids are experiencing any kind of anxiety or struggles, I'll ask them, is it okay if we just take out the feelings wheel? And we'll go through and kind of identify every single thing that they're feeling, because it's hard to articulate what you're feeling sometimes. And then we'll write it all down, and then I'll go back through and I'll ask to expand on it. Do you know why you might be feeling this way? How is this resonating? And we're able to uncover so much in that process to where you're not necessarily looking for a solution, but it's a way to process everything in a healthy way. And then you start to identify where it's coming from.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, so this is where
you get at the root.
Intelligence part.
Yes, because some people don't know. They don't know.
Most people
They don't.
I don't think.
Yeah. So
And
that is
so
a huge, that has helped me. It's helped my kids with any anxiety or confusion around decisions and things like that when they flare up.
Nice. Is there anything you would want our audience, any more that you want our audience to know just about their own journey in menopause that you feel like was so important to you or helped you get through it and come out the other end just a more blossomed person than you were?
Yeah, I think for me, what I learned in the whole process is that, it's a natural phenomenon, right? Like we're not crazy. We're not crazy. It's just that we don't expect it to hit us the way it does. And so,
For sure.
It just...
And our moms told us all about it. I mean, we knew it was there.
We knew it was there, but just
we
didn't
really
understand
know
it.
how it was going to go.
Yeah, so I would just say what I learned in all of my hormone testing, brain scans, obviously being on medication situationally to get me out of a depressive state or an anxious state, because at that time I didn't know what was happening. It's just that at the end of the day, a lot of it is lifestyle. And when I say lifestyle, I mean like lifestyle, like serious lifestyle, like your spiritual relationships, your mental and emotional relationships, get the therapy,
Your eating, your nutrition,
your sleep hygiene, all of that.
Get all of it in line, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just that most people can't, I hate to say can't do it, but most people won't do it. They don't do it. And so that's why doctors prescribe medication. Right?
Girls,
That's why.
Talk.
And that's okay. If you know, like if you're in a place where you know that you're too far gone at that moment, then get it. Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I did it. My mom has done it situationally.
Me too.
A lot of people situationally.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. And it's a great help. But at the end of the day, it is lifestyle. I mean, if you need to move, my brother moved out of Boise, Idaho. Why? Because he was depressed. So depressed every winter.
Oh,
Boise,
yeah,
Idaho.
right.
That seasonal depression
Right.
was real.
Yeah, and it falls into the other good times.
So when he got out of there and he moved to Arizona, he has not been depressed once.
Right.
Since he's moved there. And
Right.
he's never been on medication again.
Right.
So he's dying, you start getting diagnosed with all these bipolar and all this, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It absolutely does.
Right.
But I do believe, and that's kind of where I'm passionate also about the gym lifestyle.
Right.
Lifestyle is because I know it's just that most people have such a hard time that's why they need the medication. They need whatever,
or they can't get out of their situation.
the GLPs, they can't get out of their situation. They need HRT, GLP, whatever it takes. And like I said, I have no judgment on any of that. I think whatever you need to do is what you need to do. But at the end of the day,
it's, no, I understand.
even with mental health,
even
with people with mental health diagnosis, if they change their environment,
they can manage it better even if they can't cure it.
It will. I still have flare-ups. I call them flare-ups. They're flare-ups. You're going to have flare-ups when you're exposed to unhealthy environments and situations, and then you realize, oh shoot, I got to do something about it. So you're going to have flare-ups. It's still there. It's not like it's going away. But if you change your entire environment and your lifestyle, like, you will minimize the flare-ups considerably.
I agree. Yeah. Yep. Oh, Angela Gomez, thank you so much. First of all,
real quick.
Sure.
The mural.
Oh yeah, tell us about who did your mural.
Yes.
Mural,
Oh yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he did amazing. It's Jose Ortiz. His Instagram is on the mural, and we can share it. But yeah, he came in, and my consultant helped with the vision of the boxers, and then I worked with him personally on site to make it more Long Beach friendly. So with the palm trees and the beaches and things like that. So it felt like, for me, if I go to work somewhere every day, I want to feel good. I want it to be an environment that I feel really good
like
in.
it energizes you.
Yeah, it energizes, and so for me, I love that. And then of course, I don't think they can see the Snoop mural.
Oh yeah, all right, we'll take a picture of that.
This was, he's Long Beach, and this was right at the time when he was like hosting and involved in the Olympics, and it's going to be here in just a couple more years.
That is true.
So I wanted to just kind of hype that up too.
Right. We are absolutely going to have you back.
Thank you.
Because you're getting your master's degree in a subject that we are definitely going to approach in a future podcast, maybe more than one. but we're just so happy you took the time to talk to us about being an entrepreneur. But there's like 3 or 4 different things. We're gonna have you back for blended families.
Yes.
We're gonna have you back for executive coaching. You know, we're gonna have you back for emotional. You're gonna be this is gonna be an ongoing guest right here, right? Right, ongoing guest.
And this is my first podcast, so I just want to say to you guys, thank you so much. It's always been on the list, but I've never pursued it. So again, I feel like, you know, sometimes God brings you together with the right people. For the first time, I couldn't have asked for a better podcast to be on for my first time.
That part.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. You have been listening to the Girls Gone Menopause podcast with me, Adriana, our guest, Angela, soon to be master's degree, Angela Gomez, and I'm God is speaking to me right now. This is going to end up being Dr. Angela Gomez, because she's going to go ahead and get a PhD. I'm throwing it out there. And then this is
Alison.
And if you liked this, be sure to like and subscribe on the video. And if you are listening to the podcast, be sure to give us a good review and to share the podcast with others. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Girls Gone Menopause.
Thank you.
Angela, thank you
so much.
That is amazing.